This may make things kind of interesting involving the WNBA because now maybe Caitlin Clark's civil rights are actually being violated. Is her right to a peaceful workplace, a non-hostile work environment, are those rights being violated? Because Kathy Engelbert and Adam Silver, it seems to be nothing to see here. Please move along.
The Wall Street Journal just accused the WNBA of violating Caitlin Clark's civil rights. And if they're right, the entire league could collapse.
And albeit indirectly, it involves Caitlin Clark, the Department of Justice, and quite possibly the President of the United States himself. Somebody got to say it, so I'm going to say it. But the one thing I will not do is take credit for this.
It started with an opinion piece, but not just any opinion piece. This one came from the Wall Street Journal, a publication known less for sports gossip and more for moving global markets. And in this case, they weren't talking about Caitlin Clark's jump shot or jersey sales. No, they were talking about civil rights violations.
They put a microphone in front of several people, and person after person after person who played with Diana Taurasi, who played against Diana Taurasi, shared stories about how she hurt them in some way, whether it was a punch in the chest or an elbow, or if it was someone who said, I was so scared of her when I came into the league and she hit me and then I made it.
The kind that trigger federal investigations, congressional hearings, and lawsuits that change entire industries. The article, written by Sean McLean, didn't mince words. It argued that the WNBA may have created a hostile work environment for Caitlin Clark.
Now, it talks about the fact that Caitlin Clark has basically done for the WNBA what Michael Jordan did for the NBA, right? Instead of protecting its transformative star, the league's leadership ignores the relentless targeting of Miss Clark, treating its greatest asset as if she were a PR headache. That approach could turn into legal liability for the WNBA. Okay, well, get this.
And not just in a metaphorical sense, the legal kind. The kind that references federal cases like Harris versus Forklift Systems and Texas Department of Community Affairs vs. Burdine, landmark rulings that define what it means to discriminate against someone at work without ever saying a word. And suddenly, everything we thought we knew about this season.
It doesn't stop there. Because before I read you some quote, I want to also read you why I'm saying this to you. Remember when I brought up the 2024 U.S. Olympic roster? How she was left off of that and how stupid that was for Team USA women's basketball to leave her off. Remember I said that?
Looked different. Clark's civil rights, her legal right to a non-hostile workplace, might be getting violated. Not by one rogue player or one bad game, but systematically, repeatedly, in ways that could get the Justice Department involved.
And at the very least, there's a portion of this that says maybe WNBA leadership should at least have to go sit in front of some people and answer some very uncomfortable questions. Lord knows I would love to see that. Because Kathy Engelbert and Adam Silver, it seems to be nothing to see here. Please move along. Now, I've seen a lot of fans just come out and say, hey, they're assaulting her, it's battery, yada, yada, yada.
This wasn't just rough defense. This wasn't just rookie hazing. According to the Wall Street Journal, this might be illegal. And the implications? They're enormous. Because once the words civil rights violation enter the conversation, basketball stops being just a game. It becomes evidence.
So blow up on the internet because I fought someone. So
just so sick.
Honestly, it is funny. It is funny because
for good reason.
Yeah. Well,
wasn't she?
Yeah. Let me just tell people the story real quick because I don't think I've gotten to really tell my point of view of things.
Yeah.
Is like, you have seen players in our league try to toughen up.
If Section 1 was the match, this is the fuel. Because the real weight behind the Wall Street Journal's bombshell, it's in the data. Cold, undeniable numbers that suggest Caitlin Clark isn't just being played tough, she's being targeted. According to the article, Clark has absorbed 17% of all flagrant fouls in the WNBA, double the rate of any other player. That's not just a bad month. That's a statistical anomaly that screams something deeper.
WNBA, you've been forewarned. You got to address this. Kill this noise now. Make sure you do what you got to do. Last 2-minute reports from the referees. Emulate that from the NBA and institute that immediately. and start ejecting people if their behavior is too excessive against everybody, not just Caitlin Clark. Have a consistent policy.
And when those numbers show up in civil rights cases, they aren't called bad luck. They're called evidence of disparate treatment. In legal terms, that means Clark is being treated differently than her peers in ways that impact her ability to perform her job, which, in this case, is playing basketball. And under Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, that kind of workplace disparity doesn't require anyone to say a racist or sexist slur out loud. It just requires a pattern, one that can be proven. And this one can. Remember the precedent cases? Harris v's forklift systems set the bar. A hostile work environment exists if the conduct is severe or pervasive enough to create an abusive working environment. The WNBA's refusal to suspend even one player after multiple flagrant hits on Clark? That's not just a policy failure, that's a legal vulnerability. And it's not just fans noticing. Sophie Cunningham, a player from the Phoenix Mercury, went on record. The star player of the league is not being protected. That's not hearsay. That's a league veteran saying out loud what lawyers are already preparing to argue in court. And when a pattern of hits becomes a pattern of silence, the narrative shifts from sports to system. And systems, they can be sued. If the numbers revealed a problem, the silence speaks volumes. WNBA leadership has been oddly quiet, or worse, dismissive, about the relentless targeting of Caitlin Clark. While fans and players speak openly about the physicality she endures, league executives offer little more than generic statements and platitudes. Why? Because protecting Clark isn't just about basketball, it's about power. Clark is the league's greatest asset, the star who's driven viewership up 366%, app engagement by 613%, and merchandise sales by an eye-popping 601%. She's the reason the WNBA is more relevant today than ever before. But with that kind of spotlight comes scrutiny, jealousy, and politics. Comments from team owners like Sheila Johnson, who questioned whether Clark deserved to be Time's Athlete of the Year alone, hint at the deeper resentment bubbling under the surface. The Olympic snub, leaving Clark off the roster despite her dominance, only adds fuel to the fire. It's a classic tale. The very person who elevates the league becomes a threat to the status quo. Instead of shielding their golden goose, WNBA leaders have allowed a culture where Clark faces harsher hits, less protection, and questionable officiating. And with every overlooked foul, every unsuspended flagrant, and every injury Clark suffers, the league inches closer to crossing a line, from neglect to discrimination. But this isn't just about missed calls on the court. It's about the league's failure to create a safe and equitable environment, a failure that might soon demand answers, not just from the WNBA, but from Congress and the Department of Justice. Because silence is no longer an option. When a sports league's troubles escalate beyond locker rooms and highlight reels, the real consequences begin in the halls of power. The Wall Street Journal's exposé didn't just throw shade, it spotlighted a growing storm of federal scrutiny. With Senator Jim Banks already demanding answers from WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelberg, the league could soon find itself answering to congressional hearings that dissect every decision or indecision about Caitlin Clark's treatment. But that's just the start. The Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division could launch an investigation into whether the WNBA's workplace policies, or lack thereof, constitute a hostile work environment. Their power? To enforce change, levy penalties, and demand accountability. And then there's the looming shadow of antitrust law, the nuclear option for sports leagues. The WNBA currently enjoys special legal exemptions, allowing it to operate like a monopoly. But if Congress views the league as failing to protect its biggest star, lawmakers might reconsider those exemptions. A removal of antitrust protections would fundamentally reshape how the WNBA operates. From broadcast deals and team relocations to player contracts and competition rules. It could open the floodgates to lawsuits and radical reforms. For the WNBA, the stakes have never been higher. What started as a story about fouls and rivalries now threatens the very foundation of the league's existence. And in the middle of it all stands Caitlin Clark, not just a basketball phenom, but a catalyst for what might be the most seismic legal and cultural reckoning in women's sports history. Thanks for diving deep into this explosive story with us. If you found this analysis eye-opening, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Her Hoops, your go-to channel for daily, in-depth basketball breakdowns.